Welcome to the Book Club podcast. You're listening to the audiobook edition of Becoming Her, How to Stand Out in a World Full of Beautiful Women.
by Kamiko Chamo.
If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future chapters or upcoming book releases. This book is also available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle formats if you'd like your own copy to read along or take notes. Now, let's begin today's chapter. Chapter 3. The Art of Feminine Energy. Feminine energy is not a performance, an aesthetic, or a costume to wear. It is a state of being. It is the fluid, intuitive, and magnetic force that moves with grace rather than force, that draws rather than chases, and that heals rather than conquers. In a world that celebrates aggression, logic, and control, all necessary aspects of masculine energy, feminine energy has often been misunderstood as weakness. Yet, it is precisely this energy that births creativity, nurtures empathy, and brings equilibrium to human experience. To embody feminine energy is to embody wholeness in motion, receptive, aware, and powerful in stillness. Modern life has trained many women to lead with masculine energy, to push, strive, and compete in order to survive. While this adaptation has enabled great progress, it has also extracted a cost: emotional exhaustion, disconnection from intuition, and loss of softness. Feminine energy does not oppose masculine energy, it complements it. But without conscious balance, the feminine essence becomes buried beneath layers of doing, proving, and enduring. The path back to feminine power is therefore not about renouncing ambition or strength. It is about remembering how to flow with life rather than fight against it. Understanding masculine and feminine dynamics. Human life, at its essence, is a continuous dance between two primary forces, the masculine and the feminine. These are not genders, nor are they social constructs, but archetypal energies that exist within all living things. They are the twin currents that sustain existence: action and stillness, logic and intuition, giving and receiving, order and chaos. Every relationship we build, whether romantic, creative, or internal, mirrors the balance or imbalance of these two energies. To understand them is to understand the architecture of harmony itself. The masculine energy is the force of direction, purpose, and order. It seeks clarity, creates structure, and moves forward with intention. It is the energy that sets goals, builds systems, and establishes safety through discipline. The feminine, in contrast, is the energy of flow, expression, and intuition. It nurtures, senses, and receives. It embodies creation, not through force, but through openness and surrender. The masculine constructs the framework of life, while the feminine breathes life into the structure. One provides stability, the other gives meaning. When these energies are balanced within a person, there is coherence, a calm sense that one is both anchored and alive. However, when they are out of balance, tension arises. An excess of masculine energy leads to rigidity, emotional detachment, and burnout, a life of doing without being. An excess of feminine energy, on the other hand, creates passivity, over-empathy, and chaos, a life of feeling without direction. Balance, therefore, is not about equality in proportion, but harmony in expression. Each person's natural equilibrium is unique, shaped by temperament, experience, and environment. In modern society, the masculine principle has been overstimulated and overvalued. The culture of constant productivity and control praises attributes like rationality, efficiency, and ambition, qualities rooted in the masculine. Meanwhile, feminine traits such as empathy, stillness, and receptivity are often dismissed as weakness or inefficiency. The result is a world of imbalance, structured, yet emotionally barren, advanced, yet disconnected. Individuals who internalize this imbalance begin to reject the softer, intuitive aspects of themselves, mistaking aggression for strength and sensitivity for fragility. Yet history and nature reveal that one cannot exist without the other. The moon softens the dominance of the sun. The tide retreats only to return. The earth creates, and the sky protects. Masculine and feminine energies are interdependent, neither whole without the other. The ancient Egyptians symbolized this through Isis and Osiris, while Eastern philosophy expressed it through yin and yang, complementary halves of the same cosmic force. Even the human body reflects this polarity. The right hemisphere of the brain, creative and intuitive, expresses the feminine. The left, logical and analytical, embodies the masculine. Integration, not separation, sustains life. In relationships, the interaction between these energies defines the emotional landscape. Polarity, the magnetic pull between masculine and feminine, is not created by gender, but by energetic contrast. A partnership thrives when one person embodies direction, the masculine, and the other embodies flow, the feminine. When both energies compete for dominance, friction replaces attraction. When both collapse into passivity, stagnation replaces growth. Healthy polarity arises from mutual respect. The masculine protects without control, and the feminine surrenders without submission. Within individuals, harmony requires self-awareness. A woman who over-identifies with her masculine energy may become driven yet detached, mistaking achievement for worth. She may feel capable yet perpetually tense, always moving but never arriving. Her feminine side, intuition, emotional depth, sensuality, becomes suppressed beneath layers of control. Likewise, a man disconnected from his inner feminine may succeed outwardly but feel hollow within, unable to connect emotionally or empathize deeply. In both cases, the imbalance manifests as fatigue, anxiety, and an inability to experience joy fully. Healing this divide involves integration rather than correction. The feminine must not be abandoned in pursuit of discipline, nor should the masculine be rejected in pursuit of softness. Instead, one must allow the two to coexist. Balance begins in small acts, allowing stillness after achievement, expressing vulnerability after logic, listening instead of fixing, feeling instead of analyzing. Every choice that honors both thought and emotion rebuilds internal harmony. The masculine in its highest form is presence, not dominance, not control, but grounded awareness. It is the steady mountain, not the raging storm. The feminine in her highest form is trust, not dependency, but the confident openness that allows life to unfold. When presence meets trust, polarity becomes unity. This is the sacred dance at the heart of creation, structure infused with spirit, strength softened by grace. To embody these energies consciously is to rise above social conditioning. It is to realize that balance does not mean sameness. The feminine need not imitate the masculine to be strong, nor should the masculine diminish its structure to be kind. True equality lies not in mirroring but in mutuality, in honoring the distinct wisdom of each. The world needs both, the builders and the nurturers, the thinkers and the feelers, the protectors and the dreamers. Understanding masculine and feminine dynamics is therefore not merely an exercise in self-knowledge. It is a spiritual practice. It requires humility to recognize imbalance and courage to restore it. When harmony is achieved within, it radiates outward. Relationships stabilize, creativity flows, and peace becomes natural. Life ceases to feel like a struggle of opposition and begins to feel like a symphony of cooperation. In the end, the purpose of these energies is not conflict but creation. The masculine defines the path. The feminine fills it with purpose. The masculine builds the house. The feminine makes it a home. Together they complete the circle, logic and love, structure and surrender, direction and depth. The one without the other is incomplete. The union of both is what makes humanity whole. The strength in softness. Softness has long been mistaken for weakness, when in truth, it represents one of the most refined and commanding forms of power. In a world that idolizes dominance, aggression, and constant motion, softness appears countercultural, even subversive. Yet true softness is neither surrender nor passivity. It is composure in motion, mastery of emotion, and the quiet assurance that influence does not require volume. It is strength expressed without hostility, authority conveyed through calm, and leadership rooted in empathy. To embody softness is to embody control of self. It is to possess the discipline to stay grounded when provoked, to remain open when wounded, and to maintain composure when chaos surrounds. It is to understand that gentleness and strength are not opposites, but complementary expressions of maturity. Softness is power tempered by wisdom, strength that has learned restraint. Redefining strength. In many cultures, strength has been defined by hardness, the ability to endure without emotion, to compete without compassion, to win without reflection. But strength without sensitivity is brittle. It breaks under the pressure of empathy denied. Softness, in contrast, is fluid. It bends without losing form. It allows for growth, adaptation, and restoration. A soft person is not one who avoids confrontation, but one who chooses it deliberately and approaches it with clarity. They recognize that reaction is easy, response is mastery. It takes immense discipline to meet anger with calm, to listen when insulted, and to refuse to mirror hostility. This control does not diminish power, it magnifies it. The calm individual governs both themselves and the situation. True strength lies in this discipline. Anyone can dominate through fear or force, but few can influence through peace. To be soft is to operate from a place of stability so deep that external chaos cannot dictate internal equilibrium. It is to know that silence can sometimes roar louder than words, and that composure can disarm more effectively than aggression ever could. The emotional intelligence of softness. Softness is not a personality trait. It is a skill, the art of emotional intelligence in action. It begins with awareness, recognizing one's emotions without judgment and using them as data rather than identity. The soft individual feels deeply, but does not drown in feeling. They observe emotion, process it, and choose their response with intentionality. This kind of awareness requires maturity. It takes time and self-examination to understand one's triggers, wounds, and tendencies. Softness emerges when one has learned not to let pain dictate behavior. It is compassion informed by experience, empathy with boundaries, kindness with clarity. In human relationships, softness becomes transformative. It creates safety where defensiveness once existed. It allows for communication to thrive, for love to heal, and for understanding to replace judgment. The soft individual does not need to prove rightness. They aim for resolution. Their calm becomes contagious, their presence restorative. Softness as strategy. Strategic softness is one of the most underestimated forms of power. It allows individuals to navigate conflict, influence others, and lead without coercion. In leadership, this appears as quiet confidence, the ability to command attention without raising one's voice, to lead through vision rather than intimidation. Softness allows one to listen before deciding, to empathize before instructing, and to act with precision rather than impulse. This strategic dimension of softness also manifests in timing. Knowing when to speak, when to pause, and when to withdraw demonstrates wisdom. The soft leader does not rush to assert dominance. They read energy, sense emotional undercurrents, and respond appropriately. Their restraint communicates strength because it reveals control. In relationships, softness as strategy prevents escalation. Instead of engaging in emotional warfare, the soft individual disarms tension through presence and tone. They understand that not every attack warrants defense and that silence, when intentional, can be more authoritative than argument. Softness and boundaries. Softness without boundaries becomes fragility. To sustain it as strength, it must be protected by discernment. Boundaries preserve the purity of gentle energy. They prevent exploitation by those who mistake kindness for weakness. Boundaries are expressions of self-respect. They are not barriers to connection but frameworks for mutual respect. When one embodies softness with boundaries, they extend care selectively, ensuring that empathy is offered where it will be valued rather than drained. This balance allows softness to remain renewable rather than depleting. It is also important to recognize that boundaries are not always verbal. They are energetic, expressed through tone, silence, and action. A calm refusal, a quiet withdrawal, or the absence of engagement can communicate strength more powerfully than confrontation. Such subtlety is the art of emotional sovereignty, the point at which softness no longer fears being misunderstood. The feminine dimension of soft power. Softness lies at the heart of feminine energy. It is what makes the feminine presence magnetic, nurturing, and transformative. Feminine softness is not submission. It is influence through resonance. Where masculine energy directs through logic and structure, feminine softness transforms through empathy and intuition. Throughout history, women have wielded this form of power with profound impact. The feminine capacity to hold emotional space, to heal conflict, and to restore balance is a form of leadership often invisible yet indispensable. When properly harnessed, softness becomes the subtle architecture of change, not by force, but by persuasion, not by dominance, but by grace. Softness in the feminine is also sensual, not merely in appearance, but in energy. It invites rather than demands. It captivates without performance. It holds presence that draws rather than chases. Such energy influences deeply because it operates through emotional attunement, the ability to make others feel seen, heard, and understood. Softness as conscious choice. Perhaps the greatest misconception about softness is that it comes naturally. In truth, softness is a discipline, a conscious choice made repeatedly in moments when defensiveness feels easier. It requires courage to remain open after disappointment, to remain kind in a world that mistakes indifference for intelligence. Softness is forged through self-trust. It is knowing that vulnerability will not destroy you because you have already learned how to rebuild yourself. It is understanding that peace is more persuasive than pride, and that grace is not weakness, but refinement. Every time one chooses softness, in tone, in gesture, in silence, they strengthen the nervous system's association between calm and power. Over time, this rewiring becomes embodied. The pulse slows, the breath deepens, the gaze steadies. Power ceases to be something projected outward and becomes something emanating from within. To live in softness is to live from strength that no longer needs defense. It is a strength rooted not in the need to control others, but in the mastery of self. And that is the rarest, most profound power of all, the strength to remain gentle in a world that has forgotten how. Flow, intuition, and emotional awareness. Feminine energy finds its deepest expression in flow, the state of harmony between action and awareness, between movement and meaning. To live in flow is to live in rhythm with life's natural cadence, trusting timing rather than forcing outcomes. It is not inactivity or passivity, but an elevated responsiveness to the present moment. Flow emerges when intuition is honored, when emotion is acknowledged as intelligence, and when control gives way to trust. It is the feminine state of alignment, effortless yet deliberate, fluid yet powerful. Modern culture, built upon masculine principles of productivity and control, often suppresses this flow. Individuals are trained to analyze rather than sense, to plan rather than feel, to push rather than allow. The consequence is disconnection from intuition, from emotion, and ultimately from authenticity. Flow cannot exist where rigidity dominates. To restore it, one must relearn how to listen inwardly. The nature of flow. Flow is the art of synchronization with life's unfolding. It is that state in which effort feels natural, creativity moves unhindered, and decisions arise from instinct rather than obligation. In psychological terms, it resembles what Mihai Csikszentmihalyi defined as optimal experience, a condition of full absorption in the present. Yet, in the context of feminine energy, flow extends beyond performance. It becomes a spiritual practice. To enter flow is to abandon resistance. It is to stop demanding that life follow a rigid timeline and instead trust that alignment is more efficient than force. Flow does not mean inaction. It means intelligent action guided by attunement. The person in flow senses when to advance and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent. This sensitivity allows for the conservation of energy as choices align naturally with timing and environment. Like water, flow shapes everything it touches without losing itself. It adapts to form, yet remains true to essence. When one learns to move in this manner, life no longer feels like a battle of will, but a partnership with rhythm. The role of intuition. Intuition is the compass of the feminine. It is perception beyond logic, a knowing that arises without reason, yet proves itself through accuracy. Intuition operates in the quiet spaces between thoughts, communicating through sensation, imagery, or subtle emotion. It does not compete with intellect, it complements it. Where logic organizes, intuition perceives. Where logic seeks patterns, intuition recognizes truth. The tragedy of modern conditioning is that intuition is often dismissed as irrational or untrustworthy. Many women learn early to suppress it, replacing inner guidance with external instruction. They learn to justify every feeling, to doubt every impulse, and to defer to authority rather than instinct. As a result, decision-making becomes anxious, relationships become confusing, and creativity becomes stifled. To restore intuition, one must re-establish trust in perception. This begins with stillness. The mind must quiet for the heart to speak. Meditation, solitude, and reflection all cultivate this clarity. Over time, a woman begins to distinguish between intuition and fear. Fear constricts, intuition expands. Fear demands certainty, while intuition simply knows. The more she acts on intuition, the stronger it becomes, much like a muscle strengthened by consistent use. Science itself validates this truth. Neurological studies reveal that intuition is not mystical guesswork, but a rapid synthesis of subconscious information, the brain's ability to detect patterns before conscious reasoning can articulate them. The feminine, attuned to emotion and subtle energy, accesses this awareness naturally. It is not irrational. It is advanced perception. Emotional awareness as intelligence. Emotion has long been portrayed as the enemy of reason. Yet emotion is neither weakness nor hindrance. It is information. It communicates the state of one's needs, values, and internal harmony. To ignore emotion is to reject the language of the soul. Emotional awareness is therefore not indulgence but literacy, the ability to interpret and integrate feeling into wisdom. Feminine energy thrives in this literacy. Where masculine energy seeks to control emotion, the feminine seeks to understand it. It views tears not as defeat but as release, anger not as chaos but as signal, fear not as paralysis but as invitation to courage. This awareness transforms emotion from a reactive force into a guiding compass. The emotionally aware individual practices observation over identification. They can witness sadness without becoming despair, feel anger without becoming destruction, and experience joy without clinging to it. They recognize that every emotion carries a message, an unmet need, an ignored truth, or a boundary crossed. Once acknowledged, emotion completes its purpose and dissolves naturally. This approach redefines maturity. Emotional control, in its traditional sense, suggests suppression. Emotional intelligence, in its higher sense, means regulation, the ability to respond consciously. The emotionally aware person neither represses nor overindulges. They integrate. This balance allows relationships to deepen, creativity to flourish, and mental health to stabilize. The harmony of flow and awareness. Flow, intuition, and emotional awareness are not separate qualities, but interconnected expressions of one state. Inner alignment. Flow requires intuition to direct it, and intuition requires emotional awareness to interpret it. Together, they form the trinity of feminine wisdom, the ability to act, sense, and feel as one integrated whole. When this harmony is embodied, life transforms. Decisions become intuitive rather than forced. Work becomes creative rather than mechanical. Relationships become authentic rather than strategic. The constant tension between control and surrender dissolves, replaced by a sense of participation in a greater rhythm. The individual no longer seeks to dominate life, but to collaborate with it. This collaboration does not imply complacency. Flow demands engagement. It simply replaces struggle with awareness. It asks the individual to be both participant and observer, to guide action with trust rather than fear. In this balance lies freedom, the liberation from needing to know how everything will unfold.
Living in flow.
To live in flow is to embrace impermanence as natural, uncertainty as creative, and emotion as sacred. It is a state cultivated, not inherited. It requires courage to let go of the illusion of control and faith to trust one's own rhythm. Living in flow does not mean passivity or indifference. It means releasing resistance to what is while remaining open to what can be. It means replacing rigidity with responsiveness. The person who lives in flow acts decisively but never forcefully, feels deeply but never drowns, listens intently but never absorbs indiscriminately. In such a life, intuition becomes guidance, emotion becomes intelligence, and awareness becomes peace. The feminine principle is restored to its rightful place, not beneath the masculine, but beside it, offering balance where the world has leaned too long into control. To embody flow is to move like water, adaptable, clear, and unstoppable. It does not resist obstacles, it reshapes them. It carries the quiet authority of nature itself, persistent without force, powerful without pride, soft without surrender. This is the essence of feminine mastery, the realization that the most powerful current is the one that flows in harmony with truth. Balancing ambition with ease. Modern society praises the relentless pursuit of achievement. The metrics of success, titles, income, recognition, have become synonymous with self-worth. Ambition, once a noble pursuit of purpose, has evolved into a competitive race against exhaustion. In this atmosphere of constant striving, the feminine principle of ease has been dismissed as complacency. Yet, true balance lies not in abandoning ambition, but in harmonizing it with grace. To balance ambition with ease is to pursue goals without losing one's soul in the process. It is to move with intention rather than strain, and to achieve through alignment rather than aggression. Ambition is the masculine drive within us, the part that seeks to build, to reach, to achieve. It is necessary, powerful, and creative. Ease, however, is the feminine rhythm, the flow that restores, nurtures, and sustains ambition's fire. When ambition burns without ease, it consumes. When ease exists without ambition, it stagnates. The union of both forms a sustainable rhythm, a balance of doing and being, striving and surrendering. The modern misinterpretation of success. Cultural conditioning has created a world that rewards overexertion. Productivity has become a moral standard, rest, a guilty indulgence. This imbalance distorts ambition into obsession, creating individuals who are perpetually chasing the next milestone, yet perpetually dissatisfied. The problem is not ambition itself, It is ambition detached from purpose and rhythm. To exist in this imbalance is to live in constant tension, working harder, moving faster, yet feeling perpetually behind. It is a life of achievement without fulfillment, of motion without meaning. The feminine energy of ease does not oppose ambition, it refines it. Ease asks the question ambition often forgets to ask: at what cost? Ease restores humanity to ambition. It replaces the language of pressure with the language of purpose. It reminds us that fulfillment is not measured by how much we do, but by how much of ourselves remains intact after doing it. Ambition rooted in awareness. When ambition is rooted in awareness rather than fear, it becomes sacred. It transforms from competition into creation. Awareness introduces intention into ambition. It asks why before how. A person guided by this principle does not chase validation, they pursue vision. They understand that achievement should serve expansion, not exhaustion. Awareness also transforms time. The unbalanced achiever races against it, always grasping for more hours, while the balanced individual collaborates with it. Through presence and focus, they extract depth from each moment instead of quantity from each day. This difference defines whether ambition becomes empowering or enslaving. To cultivate this form of awareness, reflection must become part of the process. Before acting, one must pause to align intention with emotion. Before striving, one must ensure the direction serves both purpose and peace. In this way, ambition ceases to be a compulsion and becomes a conscious creation. Ease as efficiency. Ease is not laziness. It is precision, the ability to channel effort where it matters most. The feminine principle of ease does not waste motion. It optimizes it through intuition. A person operating from ease senses when to act and when to pause, when to push forward, and when to let events unfold naturally. This synchronization with timing produces efficiency far beyond constant effort. In practical life, ease appears as flow. It is when work feels seamless, when ideas arise organically, when the body and mind cooperate rather than compete. This state cannot be forced. It is cultivated through rest, rhythm, and awareness. Those who understand ease know that recovery is part of progress. Rest is not an interruption to ambition, it is its renewal. The disciplined pursuit of ease allows one to achieve more with less strain. It transforms action from reactive to inspired. When energy flows in alignment, results manifest more naturally, often exceeding what force alone could accomplish. Balancing the energies within. Balancing ambition with ease requires internal dialogue between the masculine and feminine aspects of the self. The masculine says, "Let's go further." The feminine replies, "Let's go deeper." The masculine seeks to define the goal. The feminine ensures the journey nourishes the soul. When both voices are honored, ambition becomes sustainable and achievement becomes meaningful. For women in particular, this balance is a reclamation of permission to strive without guilt, to rest without apology. Many women have learned to suppress their ambition to appear agreeable, or to overwork themselves to prove equality. Both extremes distort truth. True empowerment lies in integrating drive with grace, to lead with purpose, but also pause with trust. The same applies universally. Every human being contains both polarities. To harmonize them is to transcend cultural definitions of strength and success. The art of surrender. Surrender is the gateway to ease. It does not mean giving up. It means releasing control over what cannot be controlled. The overactive achiever often believes that constant effort guarantees results. Yet, life's greatest outcomes often arrive not through force, but through timing. Surrender allows space for alignment. It trusts that what is meant cannot be missed, and what is not meant cannot be forced. Surrender also cultivates humility, the recognition that success is co-created with the unseen forces of timing, connection, and intuition. It removes the anxiety of what if and replaces it with the peace of what is. From this mindset, ambition becomes lighter, more purposeful, and infinitely more sustainable. The balance of ambition and surrender is the essence of mastery. The individual acts with full effort but releases attachment to outcome. Their energy is clear, their mind uncluttered, and their results more impactful. Living the balance. To live in balance between ambition and ease is to live a life of rhythm. There are seasons to push forward and seasons to replenish. Nature itself models this wisdom. There is no perpetual summer. Growth requires stillness, just as creation requires rest. Living this balance means honoring both focus and flow, both effort and ease. It means beginning the day with intention and ending it with release. It is knowing that progress is not measured solely by output, but by the degree of peace maintained along the way. The most magnetic individuals, those who inspire trust, creativity, and respect, are those who embody this equilibrium. Their ambition inspires others, but their ease reassures them. They lead by example, showing that success need not destroy serenity. To balance ambition with ease is not to slow down life's momentum, but to refine it. It is to replace struggle with alignment, fatigue with rhythm, and pressure with presence. It is the art of achieving with grace, of allowing movement to emerge from stillness, and of remembering that the most powerful stride is often the one guided by inner calm. The power of receptivity. Receptivity is one of the most profound expressions of feminine energy, yet it is also among the most misunderstood. To be receptive is to live in alignment with the natural flow of giving and receiving, to allow energy, opportunity, and love to enter without resistance or fear. In a world that glorifies control, independence, and constant output, receptivity can appear passive. But true receptivity is not passivity. It is presence, the conscious readiness to receive without grasping, to open without losing discernment, and to trust without surrendering self-awareness. The feminine power of receptivity is not about waiting to be chosen, but about becoming available to alignment. It is an internal state of openness that attracts what belongs and filters what is not. A receptive woman does not chase what she desires, she prepares for it. She trusts that by maintaining her frequency of self-worth and peace, what is meant for her cannot miss her. The misinterpretation of receptivity. For centuries, receptivity has been associated with dependence and weakness. Societies built upon masculine ideals of control and competition have taught that strength lies in pursuit and assertion. Women, particularly, have been encouraged to prove equality by emulating masculine behavior, to chase, initiate, and dominate. Yet, in doing so, many have lost connection with their natural rhythm of magnetism. Receptivity does not mean waiting idly for life to happen. It means participating through awareness rather than aggression. It is the act of aligning one's inner world with one's outer reality. The receptive individual is not powerless. They are attuned. They know when to move and when to remain still, when to speak and when silence will serve more effectively. Receptivity is mastery of timing, the understanding that the right moment will always arrive if one remains prepared and aware. In truth, receptivity requires more courage than control. It takes bravery to release constant striving and allow life to unfold naturally. Control is a response to fear. Receptivity is an expression of faith. The feminine magnetism of allowing. The essence of feminine magnetism lies in allowing. When one embodies allowing, they create a gravitational field of energy that draws rather than chases. This magnetic power comes from stillness, the quiet confidence that what belongs will arrive and what departs was never meant to stay. It is the opposite of desperation. It is trust manifested as grace. When a woman operates in this state, her presence becomes captivating. She no longer forces connection, opportunity, or affection. Instead, She curates her energy, ensuring that her emotional and mental state reflect what she wishes to attract. Her boundaries are firm, yet her spirit remains open. This combination, openness within boundaries, is what creates true magnetism. It is not manipulation but resonance, the ability to vibrate at the same frequency as one's desires. Such a woman is rarely overlooked. Her calm self-assurance communicates to the world that she does not need to pursue. She invites. She does not demand attention. She draws it. Her energy whispers rather than shouts, yet its pull is undeniable. Receptivity in love and relationships. In relationships, receptivity is essential for emotional balance. When both individuals attempt to lead, competition replaces connection. When both withdraw, stagnation follows. Receptivity allows polarity, the dynamic exchange between masculine direction and feminine openness, to thrive. It creates a flow where giving and receiving are balanced, where effort is met with appreciation, and where presence is valued as much as performance. A receptive woman does not chase affection. She embodies it. Her warmth, attentiveness, and presence create an emotional space that invites love to settle rather than flee. This does not mean she tolerates less than she deserves. On the contrary, receptivity is rooted in discernment. She accepts only what aligns with her integrity. To be receptive is to be selective, to open the heart without lowering standards. Likewise, receptivity is not submission. Submission surrenders agency. Receptivity refines it. The receptive woman is fully aware of her power, but chooses to express it through grace rather than control. She influences through inspiration, not insistence. Receptivity in purpose and creation. Beyond relationships, receptivity plays a vital role in creativity and purpose. Every creative act, writing, art, business, innovation, begins with openness. Ideas arrive when the mind is still enough to hear them. Receptivity transforms ambition from mere striving into collaboration with inspiration. The overactive mind, constantly seeking to plan or predict, blocks this flow. Creativity cannot be commanded. It must be received. The receptive creator understands that inspiration is not forced. It is invited. They cultivate space, emotional, physical, and spiritual, where ideas can land. This is why rest, silence, and solitude are essential components of success. Without them, insight cannot enter. Receptivity also aligns with intuition. It allows one to sense timing, opportunity, and direction. Many of the world's most profound breakthroughs in art, science, and spirituality emerged from moments of surrender rather than effort. When logic reaches its limit, receptivity takes over. The discipline of receptivity. True receptivity is disciplined. It requires emotional regulation, patience, and faith. It asks the individual to resist the urge to control outcomes or manipulate timing. It invites surrender, not to fate, but to flow. The receptive person is not idle. They are intentional. They prepare mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for what they desire. They cultivate readiness. This readiness is the fertile ground into which opportunity plants itself. Without it, even blessings cannot take root. Patience becomes a sacred practice in receptivity. It is the understanding that life's unfolding has rhythm. To rush the process is to distort it. To wait with faith is to cooperate with it. The receptive person holds vision with trust, allowing action to emerge from clarity rather than fear. The spiritual intelligence of receiving. Spiritually, receptivity is the posture of grace. It is the acknowledgement that one is part of a larger intelligence, that not everything must be earned through strain. It honors the universal law of exchange. For every act of giving, there must be space to receive. Many individuals remain exhausted not because life withholds blessings, but because they refuse to make room for them. Receiving requires humility. It asks the ego to step aside and accept help, affection, and abundance without guilt. Many people subconsciously resist receiving because they equate it with indebtedness or weakness. But receiving is not taking, it is completing the circle of energy. The universe cannot give where there is no openness. The receptive soul understands that allowing good to enter is an act of courage. It affirms self-worth. To receive with gratitude is to declare, I am ready and I am deserving. This statement of readiness carries immense creative power. It turns potential into manifestation, living as the receptive force. To live as a receptive being is to live in harmony with the laws of nature. The ocean does not chase the river. It waits, knowing that all water returns to it. Flowers do not seek pollinators. They bloom and attract effortlessly. Receptivity is the same principle lived consciously, the understanding that by being fully present, one becomes magnetic to what is aligned. Receptivity transforms life from pursuit to participation. It replaces anxiety with assurance, force with faith, and scarcity with abundance. The receptive individual trusts that their role is not to chase, but to cultivate space where blessings can land and expand. This is the quiet strength of the feminine, the power that moves mountains not by pushing them, but by allowing gravity, timing, and grace to do their work. To embody receptivity is to step into co-creation with life itself, to trust that alignment is stronger than effort, and that what is meant for you will always find its way home. Protecting feminine energy. Feminine energy, by its very nature, is nurturing, radiant, and expansive. It is the wellspring from which creativity, empathy, and emotional intelligence flow. Yet because it is giving, it is also vulnerable to depletion. To protect feminine energy is not to build walls, but to establish equilibrium, to ensure that one's capacity to give does not come at the cost of one's own vitality. Protection is not defense, it is preservation. It is the conscious safeguarding of the inner sanctuary where intuition, peace, and softness reside. Every day, feminine energy interacts with a world structured around masculine principles, productivity, performance, and power through motion. While these forces are valuable, they can easily overwhelm the feminine when left unchecked. Without protection, the feminine begins to dim. Compassion turns into overextension, empathy becomes exhaustion, and love becomes obligation. To protect feminine energy, one must learn the art of discernment, to know what deserves energy and what drains it, to recognize when to engage and when to retreat. Recognizing energy drains. Energy leaks often appear subtle at first. They show up as mental fatigue, irritability, loss of creativity, and emotional disconnection. They manifest in relationships that take more than they give, in work that values output over balance, or in environments that reward performance but disregard presence. The first step toward protection is awareness, to identify where energy is being lost and why. For many women, the greatest drains are emotional obligations disguised as kindness. The instinct to nurture can easily become self-neglect when boundaries are absent. The impulse to help everyone often stems from fear of being unloved, unneeded, or unseen. Yet, the truth is that the feminine shines brightest when she chooses her giving consciously. Protecting energy begins with permission. The permission to say no, to withdraw, to rest, and to prioritize peace without apology. Another common leak is overexposure to external noise, social media comparison, chaotic conversations, or environments that glorify urgency. These stimuli fragment focus and disrupt emotional balance. The feminine thrives in stillness and connection. Noise severs that link. To restore equilibrium, silence must become part of one's daily rhythm. Boundaries as energy architecture. Boundaries are the sacred geometry of energy. They define the shape of selfhood, ensuring that love, time, and attention flow intentionally rather than chaotically. Many perceive boundaries as barriers, but they are in fact bridges. guiding others toward healthy ways of engaging. When a woman enforces boundaries, she does not reject, she refines. She teaches the world how to treat her by how she treats herself. Establishing boundaries requires clarity. One must first understand their own needs before expecting others to honor them. Emotional boundaries might mean refusing to absorb someone else's pain. Physical boundaries might mean creating private time or space to decompress. Spiritual boundaries might mean limiting contact with negativity disguised as realism. Every boundary is an affirmation. My energy is valuable enough to protect. The practice of boundaries also cultivates self-trust. Each time a woman upholds a boundary, she reinforces her belief in her own worth. Over time, this consistency creates energetic coherence, the calm assurance that her peace is not up for negotiation. Rest as restoration, not reward. In a culture that equates worth with productivity, rest has become radical. Yet the feminine cannot thrive in constant motion. Her power amplifies through rest, reflection, and renewal. Rest is not the absence of productivity, it is its foundation. It is the moment the soil restores itself between seasons of growth. Rest can take many forms: solitude, creativity, nature, or prayer. What matters is not the activity, but the intention to return to oneself. When rest is practiced without guilt, the nervous system recalibrates, emotions settle, and intuition strengthens. Without this restoration, energy becomes scattered and reactionary. With it, every action becomes precise and purposeful. To rest consciously is to honor one's rhythm. The moon does not apologize for waxing and waning, and neither should the feminine apologize for needing quiet seasons. Rest is not laziness, it is alignment with the natural order of renewal. Emotional filtering and energetic hygiene. Because feminine energy is deeply empathetic, it easily absorbs the emotions of others. Without awareness, this sensitivity becomes a burden. Protecting energy requires emotional filtering, the ability to discern between empathy and entanglement. Empathy allows one to feel compassion without carrying pain. Entanglement, however, confuses another's emotions with one's own, leading to fatigue and confusion. Energetic hygiene, the daily cleansing of emotional residue, is as essential as physical hygiene. This can be practiced through solitude, journaling, prayer, breath work, or visualization. Imagine washing away the emotional weight collected throughout the day, allowing peace to return to the center of being. One simple practice is energetic detachment. At the end of each day, consciously release all emotions, interactions, and thoughts that do not belong to you. Whisper internally, I return to myself. This small ritual reinforces sovereignty of energy, ensuring that your peace remains intact. Guarding the inner world. The feminine realm is internal, the garden of intuition, imagination, and emotional truth. Protecting this inner world requires vigilance over what enters it. Thoughts, media, and relationships all shape the energetic environment within. To maintain purity of mind and heart, one must curate consumption with the same discernment used to select companionship. Every thought entertained becomes a seed planted in the subconscious. Negativity and self-criticism erode energy. Gratitude and self-acceptance replenish it. The inner dialogue must therefore reflect the same tenderness the feminine offers others. Protecting energy includes protecting how one speaks to oneself. Guarding the inner world also means respecting solitude. The feminine finds her clarity not in crowds, but in stillness. Time spent alone is not isolation, it is recalibration. It allows intuition to speak and creativity to renew. The sacred balance of giving and receiving. Feminine energy is generous by nature, but generosity without balance leads to depletion. To give without receiving is to violate the law of reciprocity that governs the universe. Protecting energy means ensuring that exchanges, emotional, financial, or spiritual, remain mutual. A woman who gives endlessly without replenishment becomes disconnected from her source. Her giving shifts from joy to duty, from abundance to exhaustion. True giving flows from overflow, not obligation. Receptivity, therefore, becomes part of protection. When one allows others to pour back into them, balance is restored. Every time energy is given, it must also be renewed. This may come through rest, art, connection, or faith, anything that restores the sense of wholeness. The aura of protection. The ultimate protection of feminine energy is energetic presence itself, an aura of peace so grounded that it deflects chaos naturally. This protection does not come from hardness or hostility, but from coherence. When one's inner world is balanced, external negativity cannot penetrate it. The most radiant women are not untouched by difficulty. They are simply anchored in their essence. This aura is cultivated through consistency, through prayer, mindfulness, gratitude, and self-discipline. The more one honors their inner sanctuary, the stronger it becomes. Over time, peace ceases to be a fragile state and becomes a permanent atmosphere. Protecting feminine energy, then, is not a practice of fear but of devotion, devotion to one's peace, purpose, and presence. It is the daily act of remembering that the most sacred offering a woman can make to the world is her wholeness. The embodiment of feminine power. Power, in its purest form, is not forceful, it is centered. True feminine power does not roar to announce its presence. It hums quietly beneath the surface, influencing through steadiness, wisdom, and emotional precision. To embody feminine power is to embody balance, the seamless integration of strength and softness, intuition and intellect, receptivity and discernment. It is the recognition that control is not achieved through domination but through alignment, and that impact comes not from reaction but from resonance. Feminine power is not new. It is ancient, sacred, and cyclical, found in the phases of the moon, the tides of the ocean, and the rhythm of life itself. Yet, for generations, this power was misunderstood, suppressed, and even feared. Cultures built around masculine ideals of conquest and control often dismissed feminine qualities as fragile or secondary. But the feminine, when understood, reveals a power more enduring than conquest, the power to influence, to nurture transformation, and to restore balance to a fragmented world. Power beyond domination. To embody feminine power is to redefine what power means. In the masculine paradigm, power often manifests as dominance, the ability to impose will upon circumstance. Feminine power, by contrast, expresses through presence. It does not conquer, it calibrates. It does not overpower, it reorients. A woman in her feminine power does not chase validation or control outcomes. She commands through inner stillness and confidence. Her power lies in self-mastery, the ability to govern her emotions, maintain peace in uncertainty, and act from clarity rather than impulse. She understands that emotional regulation is not repression but refinement, that the calmest voice in the room often holds the most influence. This is the essence of quiet authority, the kind that requires no proof because it emanates naturally from authenticity. The embodiment of power does not depend on dominance or superiority. It emerges from integrity, the alignment between thought, feeling, and action. This alignment creates coherence, and coherence is magnetic. It draws respect and trust effortlessly, for others instinctively sense that they are in the presence of stability. The alchemy of self-trust. Self-trust is the cornerstone of feminine power. Without it, intuition is questioned, boundaries crumble, and confidence becomes performance. To trust oneself is to know that one's inner guidance, that quiet, intuitive voice, is reliable. It is to no longer require external approval as confirmation of truth. Developing this trust requires consistency in honoring intuition, even when logic or social pressure suggest otherwise. Every time a woman listens to her inner knowing and acts upon it, she strengthens the bond between mind and soul. Over time, this self-trust becomes unshakable, a personal compass that cannot be corrupted by circumstance. This alchemical process transforms insecurity into sovereignty. The woman who trusts herself does not beg for direction. She is direction. Her confidence is not an act of defiance, but of recognition, a deep knowing that her essence is enough. From this place, she becomes unstoppable, not because she is unchallenged, but because she is unbroken. Emotional power and the art of influence. Emotion is often portrayed as a liability, yet it is one of the most potent sources of feminine power. Emotion, when harnessed, becomes empathy. Empathy becomes influence. To feel deeply is not to be weak. It is to perceive what others cannot. The emotionally intelligent woman reads rooms without words, discerns motives without confrontation, and guides outcomes through emotional calibration. Her influence is subtle yet profound. She knows that changing the emotional temperature of a situation often shifts the outcome more effectively than confrontation ever could. Her tone, timing, and body language become tools of leadership. She leads not through fear, but through connection, creating environments where people feel safe, inspired, and seen. This form of influence is not manipulation, it is mastery of energy. It requires awareness of one's emotional impact and responsibility for one's energetic presence. The woman who embodies this power never uses emotion as a weapon, but as a medium of clarity. She knows that true influence does not control others, it evokes transformation within them. The balance between softness and strength. The most powerful women embody duality. They can be both soft and unyielding, compassionate yet firm, nurturing yet discerning. This balance is the hallmark of true feminine strength, the ability to adjust energy based on the situation without betraying authenticity. Such women are calm in chaos because they understand that composure is control. They are kind without being permissive, generous without being exploited. Their softness is not submission but grace. Their strength is not aggression but conviction. They embody both the healer and the warrior, knowing when to yield and when to hold ground. This equilibrium transforms perception. To others, their calmness feels like authority, their restraint like wisdom. They do not seek to impress, they express fully, truthfully, and without fear. In this integration, power ceases to be effortful and becomes effortless. The sacred responsibility of power. Feminine power carries responsibility, the awareness that influence must be used for harmony, not control. The empowered feminine does not dominate, she guides. She uplifts rather than competes, heals rather than humiliates. Her power serves purpose, not ego. When power is divorced from humility, it corrupts. But when rooted in service, it becomes sacred. The feminine understands that power is cyclical. What she gives returns amplified. Thus, she wields it with intention, through words that heal, choices that elevate, and boundaries that teach. Her leadership is restorative, not destructive. In a world oversaturated with dominance, this form of leadership is revolutionary. It teaches that gentleness can transform aggression, that understanding can dissolve resistance, and that wisdom can outlast control. Embodiment as daily practice. To embody feminine power is not a one-time awakening. It is a daily devotion. It is maintained through awareness, reflection, and self-discipline. It begins in the body in posture, breath, and movement. The way a woman carries herself communicates self-regard long before she speaks. Power is not something she performs. It is something she inhabits. Embodiment also requires ritual. Prayer, journaling, silence, nature, or art. These practices reconnect her to her essence. They remind her that true power flows through her, not from her. The more she honors these practices, the more grounded her influence becomes. Over time, embodiment becomes effortless. It is visible in how she speaks, how she loves, and how she leaves. The woman who embodies feminine power does not need to assert it. Her energy declares it. The legacy of the embodied feminine. When feminine power is embodied collectively, it changes the cultural fabric. Workplaces become more humane, relationships become more balanced, and society begins to heal its obsession with domination. The return of the embodied feminine marks not a reversal of gendered power, but a restoration of equilibrium. Every woman who chooses presence over performance, intuition over control, and compassion over competition becomes part of this restoration. Her energy ripples outward, influencing more than she will ever see. To embody feminine power is to stand as both student and steward of balance. It is to live with purpose, to lead with heart, and to love without losing oneself. It is to remember that true power needs no proof. It is simply felt. Thank you for listening to this chapter of Becoming Her. If you haven't subscribed to the Book Club podcast yet, go ahead and do that so you can stay updated on every new release. You can also find this book on Amazon in paperback and Kindle formats if you'd like a physical or digital copy. And if you found this episode helpful, share it with someone who might benefit from it as well. See you in the next chapter.